Okay, so welcome everyone, and today we are going to have a session about step by step on how to migrate from AWS Cloud to ServerCore. And our speaker for today is going to be Ivan Romanko, and I believe we are going to learn a lot from this session, and I look forward to it. So my name is Samuel Kadima, and I'll be your host for today. So this session has been organized by Nairobi DevOps community, and it has been done in partnership with ServerCore, which you are going to learn more about in a few. So let me take you. I have a quote here, quote of the day that I'd like to share with you before we proceed. So the quote of the day is "Go confidently in the direction of your dreams." So what this means is if you can visualize yourself at a specific place in the future, the right thing to do is just to be courageous and make the bold step and make the move towards your dream. So on our agenda today, uh, we are going to have an icebreaker, and then after that, I'm going to share with you about the community. After which, Ivan is going to take us through the steps by step process on how to migrate from AWS to ServerCore. And then after that, you're going to have a question and answer session. So for our icebreaker today, you can respond on the chat. And in case you want to speak, you can just raise your hand and I'll give you the opportunity to do that. So what makes you interested in a tech career? So that is our icebreaker. So you can just respond on the chat. What makes you interested in a tech career? What makes you guys interested in a tech career? Or what made you interested to start when you're starting out? So what makes you interested in a tech career? I'm looking at the chat section, waiting for your comments. So what makes you interested? Guys, anyone would like to comment on the chat? What makes you guys interested? Are you guys interested about tech? Or what makes you not interested? Should the question be, what makes you not interested? So I can see here, Joe says, the chance to work on solutions that make life better and easier. Samson says, tech is the future. Yeah, that is true, both the present and the future. So Peter says the ability to think and do things with code. Michelle says utilizing my skills in a wider scope. And then Patrick says the pay, the independence, the opportunities, and curating solutions. Ivan says, I like being close to bright, clever people and to work with them. So yeah, it's good to see what makes you interested. So I myself, I like tech because I like to create solutions and I like to have the superpower to be able to create anything that I'm thinking about. Yeah. So I can see here Brian says solving bugs. So I think, yeah, so that is enough response. We can move on to the next part, which I'm going to introduce you to the Nairobi DevOps community. So for those who are joining us for the first time, so Nairobi DevOps community is basically a community of DevOps enthusiasts. And these are people who are both experienced and those who do not have experience in DevOps. So we have experts in our community, and these experts share their knowledge. And then we also have people who are new or beginners uh, in the DevOps field. So what we normally do is we host several events, and these events are geared towards ensuring that those people who are skilled can share their knowledge, and both those who are not skilled and those who are skilled but not familiar with the tools being talked about can learn from the speakers who share in our sessions, and then we that provides the opportunity for the new people to learn. And as we do our sessions, we also do physical sessions that allow people to network and interact. We also do campus tours, and this is basically to expose campus students to the DevOps field so that they can consider it as a career path so that they can start preparing early. So by the time they are done with university, they can be prepared for DevOps. So that is basically what we do. And our mission is to create a supportive and inclusive community that values diversity and supports learning and growth. Our vision is to be a leading DevOps community in Nairobi and beyond, empowering professionals to excel in their career. In case you want to participate in our community and help us, you can help us by volunteering to run workshops. We do, for physical sessions, we have workshops on different tools. So if you think you can be able to do that, you can reach out and we'll be able to give you a chance to do a workshop or even a talk. So these are both online and physical talks, and for all types of events that we do. So we are open and we invite any speakers that would like to impact the community or the society with DevOps knowledge, or any tools that they are using that they think they can share with other people. I invite you to reach out. You can also connect us to other people who you think can add value to the community. And then you can give us feedback as well on areas you think we can improve. This feedback you can feel free as you're giving feedback to criticize us, and also tell us what is working, so that we can be able to maintain the things that are working and work on things that we need to improve on. So you can also share our posts. So when we post on our channels, you can share that, and also you can share anything in our channels. So you can, in case you've come across anything that you think can help others, you can share that information with the rest of the people in the community. You can share on LinkedIn. You have the ability to post on LinkedIn. You can also post on our WhatsApp channel, and people can learn from that. So you can follow us on our platforms for you to be able to see when we post anything, and you can reshare that. So in case you are gifted in organizing events, you can join us and help us in organizing our events. And also in case, let's say you are a good graphic designer, you can help us in branding our team. So feel free to join us and help us. So in case you are not in the community, you can scan this code and you'll be able to join. So just scan the code and it will give you a link that you can be able to join. So we are most active on LinkedIn and WhatsApp. WhatsApp is where most people communicate. And then we also have Twitter. Discord is the least active, but we are working on it. So at this point, I would like to invite the speaker for the day. That is Ivan. So I'll stop presenting so that I can allow him to share his screen and pick up from there. So welcome, Ivan.
Hi guys. Nice to be here today, and not only talking to you, but being able to communicate both ways. You know, it's a good opportunity for me to share my knowledge and answer your questions if we will have some at the end. I love meeting new people because talking to IT professionals and people just interested in IT always spark new ideas and interesting talks. I've been doing clouds in different roles for more than 10 years. For now, started a certain amount of time as a software developer, but now I'm more into management, working with customers, long-term planning and stuff like that. And so in today's talk, lots of thoughts and ideas will be brought to you from our customers. Today's topic, the migration between different clouds, is very broad. Not only we have a couple of dozens of different clouds, but also each of them has like hundreds of different services. And the migration techniques can be different depending on what state you are migrating. So the topic is really, really big. And to somehow narrow it down, we will have to limit it. And just to set up some context, I will provide you with some possible reasons for migration. Those reasons will be brought to you by me from our customers. We talk with them when they migrate to our facilities, and we ask them questions. I will share this with you today. We will also go through some simple but effective list of metrics to consider when migrating between providers. We will do some tests. We'll compare the results, and at the end, we'll perform the actual migration. As I've said, it's quite hard to make a talk like we have today productive without limiting, narrowing the scope. So today we'll be only migrating from a well-known provider AWS to lesser-known provider SERVERCORE. We will discuss the different aspects of that, but let's start a bit just to set the context about each provider. AWS is huge. Everybody knows it. More than 68% of all IP addresses are hosted by AWS. So lots of services are on their infrastructure, and they have points of presence around the globe. Lots of Americas, lots in Europe, in Asia. They even have points in Australia, in Africa, and these points on the screen are only large regions. They have more. They have more so-called local zones, but we are not going to talk about them today. So yeah, AWS has point of presence in Cape Town. SERVERCORE is younger. Amazon has been on the market, I don't know, 15 years or something. SERVERCORE is only 2+ years old. We have started as a cloud in Middle Asia, in Uzbekistan. It's this point. This country grows very fast. So technological sphere there is one of the brightest in the whole region. And our point of presence there grows like rocket. After we saw success there, we opened another point nearby in Kazakhstan and another one in Kenya. Because you might not know that, but all those countries are fastest growing on their markets. And we see in our product helpful for local customers decided to try new markets and see what will happen. So possible reasons why companies migrate from one cloud to another or from their on-premise infrastructure to public cloud can be different. When we talk with our customers, we understand that their reasons might be split into 4 major groups. Like first one, cost optimization. The second one, quality for end users. So quality for clients of our customers. Data localization, meaning compliances and stuff like that. And just team's necessities, different. Let's see what does that mean. So cost optimization, well, it's rather simple, right? Many companies comparing offerings from different providers find that SERVERCORE is cheaper. and they migrate to SERVERCORE. And other companies see that AWS have something unbeatable, and they migrate from another provider, from SERVERCORE, from Google Cloud to AWS. So the price just alters expectations about the future and helps people to migrate, to find time to migrate. So in this example, it's just one of the closest pools of AWS to Kenya pool in Frankfurt. You see the instance of 4 cores is almost twice as expensive as the same equivalent as SERVERCORE. Well, a nice thing to consider, right? The next one, quality for the end users. In this section, by quality, our customers usually mean network latency. How it can affect your users' feel of quality of your service. Well, it's if you are building some backend for a mobile game, or you're hosting a call center, or I don't know, you understand, guys, things like that. Things where you feel how slow your requests might go to the endpoint and get back, and you can be frustrated by that. So in this example, I picked an almost random IP address from South Africa, somewhere in Cape Town, I guess, yeah. And this interface here, LG, servercore.com, LG is for looking glass. It helps you to trace network packets from SERVERCORE to any IP address. So I just picked one from South Africa. You can paste anything here. And you see that the latency is huge. If you are building something like online game, online game for gamers from Kenya, they won't have a high quality of service, because latency not only high, but it's also inconsistent. So it's almost 20% in jitter up and down. Not good. And there is also a good web resource if you will ever need to measure something like that. wondernetwork.com. You can pick different cities in the configurator and see how much time it takes for an ICMP packet to travel between those points. That's it. So if you are moving your infrastructure to the closest local provider, you will have network latencies around 1 or 2 milliseconds. So way shorter. The last two groups are simple. Data localization is just about being compliant with regulations. Formal regulations your company might have now, might have sometime in the future. When you only start a service or a product, you might not think about it. That's okay. For a quick start, you can choose whatever provider just you feel confident with. But if your product becomes popular, you start attracting attention. If you have plans to go for an IPO, you definitely need to be 100% compliant, because otherwise the risk body will be huge. Speaking about IPOs, on this slide you see Uzum Nazia. It's a company from Uzbekistan, one of our customers. They recently got 100 million of new investments, which made them unicorn on local market. So the overall valuation is more than $1 billion. It's one of the fastest growing customers we've ever had. And we are super excited to be able to support them. The last point is Teams necessities. What Teams necessities are? It's, sometimes your team is growing and you hire people which are not really into large, super complex hyperscale. So they cannot move fast using those complex interfaces. Sometimes you don't have nice features like privilege separation. Of course, it's not about AWS. They have everything in that field. You will see a bit later how complex things you can do there. But, stuff like that. Sometimes our customers say that teams prefer one provider over another for a number of reasons. Well, we are happy to be preferred by these as well. So let's go closer to the actual topic for today, right? As I've mentioned previously, we have lots of clouds. You might be working for companies that have on-premise clouds, like something self-hosted. And each cloud might have 100 of different services. In general, it's quite hard to give a talk about all that and whole. So we will limit the topic to the very basic blocks every cloud consists of. So if you go to any major provider, you will see that virtual machines, they allow you to launch directly from the console, are being used as a building blocks for more high-level services, like message queues, like Kubernetes or managed databases. This all is just orchestrated by a provider set of services packed inside a number of virtual machines. So basically, if moving between providers or choosing one, we compare properties of those basic building blocks, we will have the feeling of quality that provider is able to provide us with. Right? Another major point also used as a building block for lots of different services is data storage. Data storage in modern clouds can be different, optimized for low latencies, optimized for zero downtime, and a lot of different implications. So when you are choosing a new future for your service, for your product, consider testing data plane as well. And of course, ability to just move from one provider to another is also of interest, right? Some providers does not allow you to move your data out of them easily. That's surprising, but think about that. Just in case one day you will have to move quickly. We won't discuss security point of view, payment flexibility, application features, SLAs, and lots of other different points that, of course, influence the decision making. But sorry, we will leave this for another time. So I will now switch to AWS demo, in which we will set up a virtual machine of a standard size like T3 medium with small network volume, and we will test it, how it performs. If you are already hosting something in AWS, you still better be doing something like that, just to know what to compare. So we will run a very basic test, sysbench for CPU, and FIO test for testing disk I/O. So let's go. Yeah, we are now in Frankfurt region. I don't know why I like it. We'll name our instance AWS. I'll be using Ubuntu because I got used to using it. T3 medium. Yeah, here it is. I will pick up my SSH key. We will auto-assign a public IP just to be able to access the server. We'll be good with, I think, GP3 volume. I think that's all. Let's launch it. Launching an instance might take some time. You know, it passes through some states while launching. Now, why? That is because why just not immediate? No. Because typical cloud provider has lots of infrastructure. On this slide, you can see how SERVERCORE pools look like. In this example, you see just like 2 racks in a data center. Of course, there are more racks than just 2. But in typical cloud setup in any cloud provider, there is a hosts which have compute role. You know, this compute hosts. So typically in a rack, there are a lot of compute nodes and a bit less nodes of different with different roles. Compute node is a node where your virtual machine launches. And you need lots of those hosts to be able to host lots of virtual machines, obviously. And so the larger the region, the more time it takes for the cloud provider, at least, to pick up the most appropriate node. I mean, in large regions of AWS, something like US East 1, the first region appeared in the Americas. Launching an instance takes like 3 minutes, just because it's really huge. So it's hard to pick up the best compute node for launching, and it takes more time to get base image to launch it, to start it, and everything. But usually it takes around, at SERVERCORE it takes like less than a minute. In AWS it takes like 2 or 3 minutes. Let's see, probably it has finished. Yeah, good. I will now copy the public IP address and switch to console. I will log in. Yeah, it worked. Good. So our goal for now is to install those applications for testing. To do that, I will just do an apt update. Oops, sorry. What I love clouds for is for fast internet. It works way faster than on a local machine. Very cool. So now we will install CTO and sysbench. Okay, so now we will run our first test. Very simple. It's that simple. Sysbench, CPU, run. This command runs one threaded test, which will generate prime numbers. It's not a typical workload an actual server might ever have, but our goal here is to just notice those numbers and perform the same test in each server or launch in every provider. So performing the same test, we will measure. You see, we have like 829 points. Let's launch a multi-threaded version of this test, adding threads equal to. This instance has 2 cores, so launching more than 2 threads won't give us any benefits. Okay. What do we have here? In one threaded example, we had like 800 points. In 2-threaded example, we had 1,400. Not twice as much, but close to it. Good. Now let's switch to another provider. It's SERVERCORE, this case, right? SERVERCORE allows us to launch the instance of the same size. Yeah, we'll be using Ubuntu. Ubuntu here. Oh, guys, you know what? I need to get access to a VPN because this interface is covered. Give me a second. Should be good. So we pick up a server of the same size, 2 CPUs, 4 GB of RAM, this volume of the same size. We will ask for new public IP address. My key is here. Yep, let's create it. And wait a few seconds because the situation is the same. The cloud needs to find a place for this virtual machine, launch it, connect its volume to base image, and stuff like that. Instance is going through different states, like scheduling for now, spawning, and active. Good. We can now copy its public IP address. Can be found here. And get back to terminal. Yeah, good. Here we do the same. We update our registry just for Ubuntu to know where to download the apps. Good. And we are installing here and sysbench. Good. Now we are running the same test in one-threaded mode. The number is close to that we have seen in AWS, right? 829 here, 823 here. Good. And run the same in 2 threads. Of course, it's not advised to run this test just once and take the result as the true number. Of course, you have to, you just better to run it multiple times. I don't know, I would advise at least 10 and pick something like average or median value because, they differ from time to time. Let's see, SERVERCORE gave us more. Yeah, it's 1,400 for AWS and 106,000 for SERVERCORE. Let's run it one more time. Yeah, SERVERCORE is being more consistent. You see, the result is almost the same all the time, and it twice as large as the result for tests which run in one-threaded mode. AWS has kind of jitter, not much, but it performing a bit less than twice as one-threaded mode. Why is that? Probably because AWS by default is launching your virtual machine giving you a thread and hyperthread. So when you launch your virtual machine of 2 vCPUs at AWS, you will have one physical core and one virtual thread for the same core. In SERVERCORE, we are not using hyperthreading. So when you're launching an instance of 2 vCPUs, you will get 2 physical cores. That's why the results, probably that's why the results are better. Now let's run another test, which tests disk of the virtual machine. I will copy and paste the command because it's too long to write it by hand. Yeah, pretty long. FIO is a tool which allows you to load your volume with hundreds of operations, different operations, emulating how certain software might work with your volume. FIO allows you to test your disk in different combinations. And we will perform 2 tests today. One which will act like a database. What normal SQL database do with your volume? It writes write-ahead logs on it. Write-ahead log is something SQL database need to write to be able to say to tell the application that it's fine, everything's fine, I wrote things down. So basically, no matter how much CPUs you have on your server, how powerful the volume is, SQL database will write it like single-threaded to this file. And in this mode, this application database will benefit from very low latencies. The lower the latency, the better, because the faster the application, which asks to write something in the database, will receive the response that everything's fine. In order to emulate this in FIO, you have to say that base block here should be small, like 4K, 4 kilobytes. IO depth equals 1 emulates so-called like one-threaded writes to the volume. And random read-write mode emulates like the actual behavior which database needs. It reads something from the from volume, modifies data, writes it back in one-threaded mode. So random read-write. Okay. What is also important here, but common for other tests that we'll perform later, is the direct equals 1, meaning that we want to avoid operating system disk cache. So this instruction tells don't use operation system cache. No, write directly to the volume. And fsync equals 1 means that we will wait until the volume storage system tells us that, yeah, 100% safe. I have wrote everything down. So synchronous writes. Let's write the test. It will take some time to complete. I think around 20 seconds. It has large output. So in order to save some time, I will copy this command and run it at SERVERCORE here. We will get back to it later. It was preparing the file. It took some time. Now it writes and reads from that file. Yeah, the output is huge, but I will help you to focus. So in this test, What we are interested in is CLAT measure. Here it is. CLAT here showed us that the latency was less than millisecond, which is really great. Yeah, it's good. So 95th percentile is less than millisecond for random reads. Good. You might use this volume for, for some simple SQL server with no problems. Write tests here also has 95th percentile less than a millisecond. This microseconds. This means less than a millisecond. Very good results. Let's now switch to SERVERCORE and see what they have for us. The same section, read. This percentile also below 1 millisecond. And for writes, what do we have here? Yeah, also less than a millisecond. So probably equivalent. So in both providers, you can run SQL databases on that network volumes, probably with no problems. But of course, remember that this is just a synthetic test, which shows us, is there an equivalence or not? Another scenario that you can test with Pio is scenario when you have, let's say, a server hosting lots of different applications. Each of them are doing something with the disk. So they're reading, writing data randomly with no really a way of control from you. To emulate this, we will alter I/O depth. We will replace 1 with 32, keeping base block the same size. Let's run this test and run the same at SERVERCORE. This test runs faster because we already have a file prepared. So we just only need to write and read things. Let's see this section again. In this test, we are not interested in looking into latencies because latencies here are huge. Nobody normally would use a server with such volume in this mode. It's just ridiculous. You need more powerful volume for that. What we are interested here is how much bandwidth in terms of operations per second and actual bandwidth we have. So reading, we had yeah, it's total operations, but not per second. But so we had 1,200 operations for reading, the same amount for writing. Okay, which is good because we had a volume. Which volume we picked up? Let's check. GP3 volume. Yep. Actually, we should be able to get 30,000 operations per second. Strange. A bit strange, but okay. Let's see what SERVERCORE has for us. SERVERCORE gave us more, like 2,000 for reading and 2,000 for write requests. This, the same here. Interesting. So you see the same synthetic test performed on different providers. I would assume that some optimization needed in order to get the same results from AWS. I don't know. Let's not focus too much on that. Let's test another scenario in which we will perform like if we were an application which reads a lot of data from the volume in order to process it fast in memory and write it back. To do that, we will change the base block. We will not issue operations with small blocks like 4 kilobytes each, but of 4 megabytes each. Let's write it and run the same here. Which applications might work like that? I don't know. I think some AI application which reads a catalog of photos for faster processing in memory, probably some image or video conversion tools. Look, in this test, we are not interested in latencies because they're huge. We're not interested in IOPS because we only have 15 operations complete. What we will look at is bandwidth in megabytes per second. AWS offered us 125 megabytes per second. So it's a bit surprising that we are able to get only 62 for reads and 68 for writes. What SERVERCORE gives us? SERVERCORE gives us almost 100 for reads and 100 for writes. Yeah. Bigger numbers for the same test. Interesting. So comparing this, you, of course, running the same tests again and again, you might find equivalency or non-equivalency between the providers. Of course, as I've mentioned previously with sysbench tests, you better be running those tests multiple times throughout the day, just to understand how neighbors that exist in a cloud provider affects the power you get. If you are not really into doing those tests manually, you might want to use TO benchmark export. It's a tool which runs the same tests we have run manually, but it automates them. You can scrap those metrics in Prometheus and visualize them after that and see how performance goes with time. Few benchmark exporter. Sorry, guys, I forgot to put a link or QR code to this. Okay. Yeah. So after we have looked how providers behave, if another provider looks like a way to try, we might want to migrate an actual server from AWS in our case to that new provider and see how things go when we actually run not synthetic, but our true laws. In order to migrate this server, we will have to do several steps. The first two, to bootstrap IAM policy and to create an S3 bucket, are, they're not overly complex, but they take some time. I won't show you how to do that. You can scan the QR code and read it yourself. I will only see a web page describing that procedure. for you to be aware of it. Yeah, this on this page they tell you how to allow Amazon S3 service to get access to Amazon EC2 service in order to get an image and store it in a S3 bucket. It's an essential part of the migration, and you have to proceed through those steps. It takes some time. I don't know why AWS asks you to do all that in a console, because actually you can do it via a control panel, like we have launched an instance before, but for some reason they want you to get your hands on those bright JSONs. And they have a actual instruction for migration. I will be performing. You can find it here on another page. Exporting a VM directly from Amazon Machine Image AMI. So we will start from the third step. We will create an AMI image of the volume of our virtual machine. We will wait while it completes. Then we will export it to an S3 bucket. After that, we will generate a publicly accessible link, and we'll download this image to SERVERCORE control panel. So without further ado, let's proceed. Oops, sorry guys. Yeah. We will go to the list of instances. Come on. Thank you. We will go to Actions, Image and Templates, Create Image. Yep. I just press Create Image button. Name is already taken. Let's there. Good. Image creation takes some time, as usual. Let's see what will happen. As I've shown you previously, any modern cloud provider tends to store virtual machines not on compute hosts where those machines are launched, but on a specifically built network storage cluster. So when we create an image of a volume, basically we are creating a copy of a virtual machine disk, which will be placed inside a pool, specific pool in that cluster. That pool can be optimized for cheap storage, for instance. It might consist of servers with lots of hard drives. It can be optimized for, let's say, fast image conversion between different formats. We will talk about it a bit later. It can be optimized for image transfer to S3, like we are doing now, or something like that. So when we create an image, virtual machine will receive a signal that this volume is going to be like cloned. In AWS, if I'm not mistaken, they either pause or even reboot the image, the virtual machine, when you take a copy of the volume. Generally, different cloud providers perform this task differently. At SERVERCORE, when you create a image from volume, you can use a snapshot. So you can create a snapshot of a volume and then create an image from that snapshot. Performing this way, you won't have to reboot your instance or stop it or disconnect the volume. Let's see the state status for this operation. Still pending. Yeah, it takes some time. Let's give it some time. Yeah, you see, I was disconnected from this server because it was rebooted to get the copy. For some reason, AWS don't have a button in the control panel, which will allow you to export it to export this image to S3 container. In order to do that, we will have to use either terminal we used before, or a Cloud Shell, which is available here. I'm not a big fan of this Cloud Shell, but I used it this time for this session and found it quite easy to use. You know, it goes pre-configured. So in this shell, I'm already authenticated. And I can, for instance, yeah, I think I can copy this image and write something like AWS, EC2, show image or something. No, not show image. Yeah, it won't show me that. Okay, sorry guys, I forgot the command to that will allow me to show you how, you know, image to show the image. Probably I will be able to find it. No, I won't, because it's like a couple of hundred of different commands. Let's reboot the page and see if it, yeah, look, this image is available now. So now we can ask S3 service to go here to AC2 and import the image to a bucket. I have copied a command for that because it's quite long, and it looks like that. You write export image command, you set image ID, you choose disk image format, and you set image, the location for that export. I will copy this image here and paste it here. Yep. Disk format, we place raw here. I will tell you a bit later about why raw. And here in export location, I just put images for transfer. It's the name of the bucket. I have here in S3 console. I have pre-created it before the demo, just to save some time. Yeah, you see it's empty. Okay. So let's launch this command and see if it works. Ooh, it worked. We have export image task here, and we can use this ID to test the status of this process. To do that, you have to say describe image export tasks and put this ID here. You see, it will show you progress. Right now, it's 35%. In my experience, it takes like 3-4 minutes to complete. Let's spend this time talking about what image format is. You've seen that I have written raw for image format. In typical cloud provider, as I've shown previously, is using network attached storage. So the disk of your virtual machine is not stored in a form of a file. It's just bytes spread on top of sometimes hundreds of different servers. But if you are working with some homegrown cloud, something on-premise, probably your virtual machines will have disks in the form of a file, which will lie on a hypervisor's file system. Sometimes not on hypervisor's file system, but on separate servers, but you will actually have a file, and that file will have some format. Popular formats here are VMDK. It's a format which is used mainly in VMware ecosystem. It became open source like 10 years ago, but still mainly used in that proprietary software. QCO is a format which is famous for its ability, for its sparseness. So the file grows, but grows when your virtual machine needs more space. VHD format is from Microsoft Hyper-V ecosystem. Yeah. And raw format is the simplest form of a disk for virtual machine. So it's basically a per byte copy of a block device. So if you know what DD command does, it can create a per byte copy of the volume, and in the end of that operation, you will have a file in a raw format. So with this command, export image, we asked AWS to gather all blocks of our virtual machine volume from that cluster, pack it together in one file in raw format, and put it inside S3 bucket with this name. So this is called conversion procedure, and you can see that right now there's this operation is in converting state, which is almost 85% done, so almost complete. So when you work in a public cloud, you probably won't ever meet an image format unless you are about to migrate out of this cloud. It will ask you which format you would like to use, or if you are moving something into that cloud from your Hyper-V installation, for instance. As I've mentioned, QCO, for instance, is a format that can be sparse. So a virtual machine with a volume of 80 gigabytes filled only in half, like 40 gigabytes, will have QCO file of 40 gigabytes. In case of raw format, no matter how much data you use inside that 80 gigabytes volume, it will have 80 gigabyte size filled with zeros or something. So raw is simple and hence not too effective. But it's the easiest way to export data and the easiest way to import it. Let's see if they have finished that. Still 95. Let's check, probably this image is already inside our container. Yep. We do have something here like right verification, yeah, but still no prefix for the object we are interested in. Let's wait a bit.
As we are waiting, in case anyone has a question, feel free to type it on the chat.
Yes, sure. By the way, in order not to wait doing nothing, let's go to SERVERCORE console and see how we will use this image later. At SERVERCORE console, you have images section here. As you can see, I have preloaded image like we are creating now. Before I was testing everything. By the way, it was working way faster than we are seeing now. Creation of an image is simple. You just push this button and you have three main options. You can choose a file to upload, and this file will be get from your local machine. You can provide a URL, and SERVERCORE Cloud will go on that URL and try to get the data. Or you can create an image from some volume that already exists, like disk for Piper. Do you remember that we have launched a server with the name Piper, so its volume is accessible and you can create an image from it. So when that operation of conversion will finish, we will get an URL and paste it here. And speaking about those formats, you see, we will have to choose format here. You see Kuko, VDI, Akiami, lots of different formats here. Still not ready. At least we now have a prefix, and we have our object here with a size of 8 GB. I think it should be completed now. Not yet. Let's wait a couple of more seconds.
So there is a question for you here on the chat. Maybe you can be responding to it.
Yeah, sure. Could you please read it?
Okay, so Anthony is asking, what pricing options does SERVERCORE offer for its VMs or dedicated hosts?
What pricing options SERVERCORE offers for its dedicated VMs and dedicated servers?
Yes.
Well, in terms of pricing, there are multiple options you can find here. Well, actually, it's better to go on SERVERCORE's website and go straight to cloud servers here. And here at the bottom, you have a calculator that allows you to briefly understand which infrastructure you have and how much it will cost you. You have pre-configured sets here, different sizes, or you can create your custom something. I don't know how much we're allowed to put here, up to 64 GB. Yeah, you can choose different different volumes. You see the performance options here, right? And each volume might be up to, unlimited. Might have unlimited size, you know. And you can also add to calculation different options. So yeah, here you can calculate everything. Probably the question was about different like options for sustained use or something. We do not offer anything like that for now. We plan to launch a reduced cost service like preemptible instances, like spot instances, which can be shut down by provider and relaunched later, and instances with percentage of CPU available. So not a full core, but like 50%, 20% or so. Stay tuned. So let's check this one more time. Yep, now it's completed and we are safe to proceed. In order to do that, we will go to these object properties and share it with pre-signed URL. When I press this button, I have to say how much hours this link will be active. 1 hour should be enough. We create pre-signed URL, copy it, and go to SERVERCORE control panel. Now we create an image, as I've shown you previously. I paste URL here, choose raw format, and press create button. Let's name it somehow like from AWS, right? Image is being created. You see it's in importing state. As I've tested previously, it takes around like 10-15 minutes, depending on something. I was not being able to identify the reason why this time is fluctuating. Probably this is because of the distance between Nairobi and Frankfurt. Who knows? We won't be really waiting for this to complete because, well, you know. But let's give it some time. Once it has completed, like in 5 minutes, probably we will have luck today. I will tell you about the storage system we use at SERVERCORE, because it's really one of the most fascinating part our cloud has. We are using Stash software-defined storage. It's well, basically like many things in our sphere, just a number of applications which work together, written by engineers from Red Hat, Dreamhost, and some other big famous companies. They managed to write a system which is really scalable and fault tolerant. Scalable means that you can launch a cluster which will host only like 4 terabytes of data, but you will be able to scale it to up to multiple petabytes of data. We at SERVERCORE have done it many times, and it really works. And not only we are using it, many different famous companies are using it as well. You might be familiar with Hetzner, with OVH. These are 2 famous providers of different services. Like in Hetzner, you can rent a bare metal machine. You can do that at SERVERCORE, you can do it at Hetzner. You can do the same in OVH. They also provide bare metal servers. And both providers have cloud. You can launch virtual machines and some services like Kubernetes, something, general stuff. All those providers and SERVERCORE are able to host like petabytes of data in those clusters, which is really cool. But the But the coolest among those three is CERN. CERN is a scientific laboratory, not laboratory, it's an institute. They study physics, like beam physics, nuclear physics, and things like that. And they perform lots of different experiments with particles. And each experiment generates multiple terabytes of data per second. And in order to be able to process it, they use Ceph. And now total capacity of their clusters exceed 50 petabytes of data, which is insane. It's just like rooms filled with servers which host data. What Ceph is famous for, as you see on the screen, Ceph is able to create a copy of each block of data you write to it. You see, you write once, and Ceph immediately create another copy, at least one. On this animation, the cluster is built with replication ratio 2. At SERVERCORE, we use replication ratio 3. So each block you write, we store in 3 copies. So we create 2 extra copies. Why we are doing that? Because in large-scale infrastructure, hardware fails every day. Like every day we replace multiple hard disk drives. Every week we replace a full server because some of its parts worn out and we need to replace at least this part or the server in whole. So in order for you as a customer to not notice such changes, such operations, we have to just store more copies of each block. So when some copy goes out, Ceph immediately creates another copies to maintain policy of having 3 blocks, 3 copies of each block, and allows us to replace the missing part. Yeah, really good. I strongly advise those of you who are thinking about using some SDS to get a look at InterCEPH. Yeah, so yeah, let's refresh the page, but guys, it looks like we won't be able to use the same, this exact image we have imported now. Yeah, let's use this one. I have imported it just like a couple of hours before we have started. In order to use the image, we will just go to servers section and press the button create server. And here in the section source, you will just not using default images like we've done previously, but you will pick one from images here. This one is not uploaded yet. You better not be using it, but this one should be good. We press select and we just can go straight to the bottom and launch it. Right now, when we launch a server, the cloud will find the image located somewhere here in network storage cluster, and we'll create a copy of it in another part, and we'll connect this volume to a virtual machine launched in some compute node. Normally it takes like a couple, yeah, you see it's already done, it's already active. We can copy the IP address and not ready yet. Nope. Let's see what is they doing. Oh, should be ready now. Yep, they are. Yeah, it's It's an image from AWS. You should not be able to connect with root. Default for SERVERCORE is logging from root, which is not really a good practice, but we haven't changed that yet. As you can see, the server is up and running, probably even having, the same test file we used before to launch our tests. Probably even having the, of course, it has our bash history here. Let's launch this. Okay, blocks. And see how it performs here. Imagine that this server was used for hosting some of your applications. Right? If it were a website, you will be able to just access it here on a new IP address. Yep, look, the same image have almost 2,000 operations available here. And here it had like, it had only 1,200. So yeah, a good option, Move easily and get more. So basically, guys, to wrap up, what you need to do, considering to move from one provider to another, test both sides. Just run the same test here and there. If you know which application you are hosting, which profile it has in terms of consuming CPU or disk, you can adapt the testing mechanisms to reflect the behavior. If you compare value and see purpose in like migrating, just do it. I've shown you the simplest way of exporting a whole block device, but you might benefit from migrating actual data, not the whole block device. Yeah, it depends on your case. I wrote 40 minutes here, but I guess it took a bit more. Sorry. If you have lots of services and lots of servers to migrate and your target provider is SERVERCORE, don't hesitate to contact us. We have a free migration offering. So that's it. You will save a lot of time. And if you just want to test SERVERCORE for your projects or for proper migration later, send us a message, get a bonus code, and enjoy the provider for free. That's all for today. And I'm ready to answer questions if we have some.
Okay, thank you very much. So in case you guys have any questions, feel free to type on the chat. You can also raise your hand and I'll give you the chance to speak. So I see here on the chat, we have one question. Are all SERVERCORE services offered at a fixed price, or do you offer pay-as-you-go services?
All services are pay-as-you-go, actually. So we have calculated that shows monthly cost for every server, but basically it's the payment will be 1 hour per 1 hour. So you launch an instance, you use it for 1 hour, delete it, and pay like a small fraction of that monthly cost. The same goes with other services like Kubernetes, managed databases, and all other stuff.
Okay.
But not for dedicated services, dedicated servers. If you launch a bare metal server, some of them are available on per hour cost, but some are not. Some are only for monthly payments.
Okay, thank you. So Anthony, I believe you answered. If you have any follow-up questions, you can still type on the chat. Is there any other person with any question? Any other question? You can also raise your hand and I'll give you the chance to speak. Anyone with any question? Okay, so I believe there are no questions. But there is a comment here from Joseph saying that was a nice one. I loved the session.
Thank you.
So yeah, I also loved it. It was an insightful session. And I encourage you guys to try out SERVERCORE. So you can reach out to the number they provided and see so that you can get the free amount that can allow you to test it out and see before you make a decision and probably make a decision. So you can see a Betty saying, let me compare the costs before we decide to migrate. Thanks. So yeah, so you can reach out to them. I'll be sharing, I've taken the screenshot of that slide. I'll be sharing it with you guys as well on the group so that you can be able to, in case you want to reach out to them, you can be able to reach out to them on WhatsApp or SMS and they'll respond to you. So Anthony also says, I've really learned a lot. So thank you guys and thank you Ivan for the insightful session. Do you have any last words?
It was a pleasure for me to be here today with you guys. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So thank you everyone for joining. I'll be sharing this video on our YouTube channel. So in case you'd like to, you join late and you'd like to view it, you'll have access to it by tomorrow morning. And looking forward to see you in the next meeting. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.